joining the Better Managing Risks in Construction webinar. The Association for Project Management defines risk as uncertain events affecting objectives. There's been plenty of uncertain events lately. COVID-19, an erratic ASX, and the chaotic geopolitics of 2020, just to name a few. In light of this volatility, today's discussion focuses on risk, specifically construction risks. I'm Justin St. Pierre, and I'll be moderating this panel with Michael Hopwood, Director at Valen Project Services, and Patrick Connolly, CEO of Anility. Before we begin, could you both tell us a bit about your organizations? Michael, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. G'day, guys. Valen, we're a client-side property and construction consulting firm. We also do client-side project management. Part of our business, we also do commercial construction, but we tend to stick to pretty niche areas. But really, our core business is client-side representation.
Great, Patrick.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, everyone. Nice to meet you. Thanks for joining us, Michael. So Anility is a tech platform that sells to builders and client-side firms to manage the risk of their supply chain. We've got two core products. One is a product called Financial Pro that helps builders and client-sides assess the financial health of the companies that they engage. And the second is a performance monitoring tool. So looking at how those builders or subcontractors are performing on construction projects and using the data to track trends and make more informed decisions.
Great. And Michael, I understand that you wear multiple hats across construction. What types of risk across the supply chain are you most concerned about?
Yeah, so from our point of view, we're kind of considering four types of risk. Strategic risk being one of them, compliance and regulatory risk. And then I guess the main focus is for us, which is financial risk and operational risk. On the financial risk side, historically there's always been procurement challenges in the industry, and obviously with the rate of insolvencies, that go along with our industry, it's always been important to keep your finger on the pulse and have a way to measure that financial risk. And on the operational side, that's probably from our point of view just as important. It's about measuring performance of principal contractors and subcontractors. And realistically from that, you want to be taking away a good picture of how that person's performing both now and historically. And then that just gives you, I guess, visibility and trends for where they might be heading in the future.
Great. And Patrick, there's been some real tectonic movements in the construction sector in Australia in the past few years. We've had the collapse of Grocon, we've had the failures of the Opal Towers and Mascot Towers, and some legislative responses, the formation of the Residential Apartments Act and Design and Building Practitioners Act. On top of that, there's been a whole lot of movement in the tech space around some of that construction tech and prop tech. Curious to know from you, what are some of the trends that you see that you're excited about or that you're concerned about for the upcoming year?
Yeah, so COVID-19 has thrown a bit of a spanner in the works for the Australian construction industry. On one side, you've got the government who's invested billions of dollars to improve infrastructure, which has obviously created a lot more jobs within the construction space. But on the flip side, there's been a number of factors that have led to, a number of experts and industry bodies to predict a 220% spike in insolvencies in the next 18 months, which is pretty frightening, to be honest. So, I think it's a perfect storm that's leading to this. You've got the government pulling the stimulus package off the cards. You've got materials lagging, to get to Australia, which means subcontractors can't install and get progress claims and money. So a number of elements have led to this. So I think companies that are working within this risk space, it's a good place to be.
Great. And Michael, before that, you mentioned that, managing financial risks was sort of the most important risk area that you're monitoring. How exactly do you do this? And any tips you have for builders and developers out there?
Yeah, so I guess one of the key words is probably due diligence. It seems obvious, but I think people a lot of the time are in too much of a rush to move projects forward. Can find excuses for why they don't, I guess, kind of follow their own policy. And obviously, from our point of view, we've always got the opinion that taking the time to complete, the due diligence process ultimately saves time and money. And it is, I guess, kind of the first port of call when it comes to risk management. So I guess, to drill down into that into a little bit more detail, the main thing for us is that businesses have processes in place and that there's consistency in the application of those processes. And I think that that's probably where businesses fall down, is where either they simply don't have those processes up front, or they've got the processes, but it's the lack of consistency in how they apply it.
Great. And Patrick, at the beginning you told us a little bit about Anility, but I'd be curious to learn more about it. Could you tell us exactly how it works?
Absolutely. So we've got two products, as I mentioned when we first kicked off. The first is a tool for builders to look at the financial capacity of the companies they're looking to engage. So obviously COVID has influenced things, and historically financial due diligence was done at ad hoc. So they'd go out to a risk agency or they'd have in-house teams, but it was done on a one-off for a high-risk trade. Now, what we're trying to implement here is a monitoring tool. We want to make it affordable. We want to make it quick. We want to make it easy for builders that are constantly on the go to conduct this across all subcontractors, because as COVID's really highlighted, you never know who is the next one to fall over. And if you want to safeguard your business properly, there's no point doing one here and not the other one. So the way that the tech works is, in particular, is a builder will engage a subcontractor, and prior to that contract award, they'd use Anility to conduct financial due diligence on that subcontractor, which can be done, in under 24 hours. We've also got risk mitigation strategies and a whole bunch of models that really can help builders de-risk that from the start. And then moving on from that, risk is a continuous thing that carries on throughout construction. So these financial evaluations can be done continuously throughout construction, and reassessing, subcontractors at different points in time. And then, in addition to that, it's really around tracking performance. So performance in construction at the moment is something that's, either done at the end of a project with a checklist, or it's kept in the builder's head and they just, have a chat about it at the end of the job. But what we're trying to implement here is a culture where performance is just as important as financial risk. So by tracking this, you can look at trends across projects, you can have historical data that you can lean upon for future projects, and it's really having this continuous improvement. So, the customer working with the companies they engage to, improve performance holistically, across the job together.
Great. And Michael, curious from your perspective, is everything that Patrick's talking about an anomaly? Is it something that the sector just, how comfortable is the sector in terms of monitoring these default risks, or is everyone doing it already? Where does the sector stand?
Yeah, good question. So look, I think personally the industry's probably lagging, and this type of product, it's probably long overdue. It's actually surprising that somebody hasn't come along and done it sooner. And again, that's why, when we saw Anility and, we discussed the product and they gave us a test run straight away, we just thought, well, yeah, this is definitely something that we've been looking for. So, I guess, what Patrick was saying before, in terms of managing default risk, I think, for us, it's very important to be able to, see where a contractor is at a point in time. And with Anility, they've actually got point-in-time analysis. But from our point of view, the key function is the dynamic analysis. That gives us a really good picture of where the business was at, several years before, and obviously, up until recently in terms of several months behind, and then up until that point when the latest one is done. So again, from our point of view, that just gives us, I guess, visibility on where this company might be tracking, whether that's up or down. And I think ultimately, it's ironically got advantages for the principal contractors who these financial assessments are done, because sometimes there are, I'll be honest, certain businesses that do need protection because they sometimes don't know what they don't know. They might not be savvy enough to realise what a precarious financial situation they're in, and we've got that visibility, so we can actually inform our clients, and I just think that makes the industry stronger.
Right. And I know that Valen's building a reputation for being an innovative leader in New South Wales construction. Curious, and I don't know how much you can share, but I'd be curious to know, you're always keeping a pulse on new things that are coming down the pipe. What's some of the tech that you're most excited about coming?
Yeah. Look. There's plenty of stuff out there already. That's probably a lot of stuff that's out there is stuff that I'm already really excited about. But yeah, look, I think generally it's probably the digital revolution that I'm most excited about, and probably have been for a long time. I'm seeing the industry, slowly moving away from its dependency on kind of paper. And I guess I think that's the direction that the industry needs to go. An example, of where, that shortfall or the deficiency in using paper against a digital age, is fully understood. Is somebody on site has a printer, they print out a plan. 5 minutes later, on the system that's being used, the project management digital system that's being used, an update is done on a plan. Straight away, it's redundant. Now you've got a document which is a risk to the project because things could be built incorrectly off it. So I think it's taking time, but I think the industry really does need to kind of keep forging a path towards becoming completely paperless. We simply don't need it. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, good to hear. Didn't realize that. Patrick, I guess on that point about new technology and what's coming down the pipe, curious if you can share what's happening with Anility. What's on the roadmap, if you can let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you think about risk at the moment, I guess it's a two-sided marketplace. On one side, you've got builders or client sides trying to de-risk their project and procurement decisions. But on the other side, you've got organisations that are bidding for work. And traditionally at the moment, just the way that construction is with profit margins so low, a lot of subcontractors and builders are losing work to lowball bids. And it's just the way it is. And unfortunately, if you're a builder and you're seeing that procurement, you don't have any other metrics to make these decisions on other than price. It's his word versus your word. So we're exploring now ways to give subcontractors or the other side of the market an incentive and I guess a justification for their quality, vouch for their price. So giving them another metric other than price to be compared against, because the lowest bid isn't necessarily the best, as everybody knows. But unless there's something tangible attached to prove and vouch for your quality, then it is. So we're exploring that actively at the moment and seeing how we can add value to, the broader construction ecosystem.
Great. And Michael, we've got a question for you. I don't know if you can answer it, but it's from a subcontractor in Melbourne, bit of a long one. As someone reviewing different tender responses, what are you prioritizing? My team is ruthless about keeping our prices down, but we keep losing out to competitors that must be operating at a negative profit. What advice would you give to improve our success rate?
Yeah, okay. So look, I guess on the topic of that question, I think meeting the market on a price point, it's really challenging for all businesses. You've got to strike a balance between need revenue, but at the same time, making a profit. In saying that, though, all businesses, they need to manage their risk, and if you can understand risk, then you can measure it. So ultimately, once you're able to measure risk, then you can use that to become part of your decision-making process. So I think, the advice that I would give in that circumstance, decisions need to consider risk holistically. You need to understand what the risk is. And if you can't meet a price point because the prices are too low, look at what else you can control, potentially marketing yourself as a superior product or service. And again, I think that's where, it's important for businesses to be innovative and to look for opportunities to have a point of difference. And what Patrick was saying before about, Anility exploring opportunities with subcontractors, that's exactly the kind of stuff that subcontractors should be paying attention to, because, if a builder is using Anility, chances are they're already considering risk more effectively than others. So maybe that's a company you want to be working with.
Oh, great. That's a good answer. And I'm not sure who's best to answer this next one, but the question is, what parallels in construction risk and subcontractor default risk specifically do you see in other geographies? How does Australia, for instance, compare to the US, UK, New Zealand, something like that?
Yeah, happy to take this one. I'll take you off the hook, Michael.
Yeah.
So look, the US is the way that insurance is set up in the US. Everything's tailored to managing subcontractor risk. So in the US, if you've got a construction project, you either need to take out something that's called subcontractor default insurance, which is a two-party agreement between the insurer and the builder. And now, if the subcontractor defaults either due to financials or performance, the builder gets paid out. The alternative to that is something called a performance bond, which is you can get a performance bond again. So it's a three-way agreement now between the subbie, the builder, and the insurer. Now, if anyone doesn't perform, the rest of the parties get paid out to the client or the sub. So the way that insurance is set up over there, it places an emphasis automatically on subcontractor risk, which is a big thing. So I think that's something that Australia needs to sort of maybe take a look at and explore that option over here. Obviously, you've got bank guarantees over here in terms of insurance, but because Australia's not set up that way, I just don't think it's the focus is where it needs to be. And I think COVID could be the catalyst for that here in Australia. And similarly, the UK, the UK is going through a similar phase to Australia as, the emphasis in the UK is, whilst they do look at cost, obviously, builders do look at price, exploring other metrics, again, as I said, such as performance. They're probably a little bit ahead of us, and I feel like we're just on a curve that over the next few years we'll start to see a lot better tech solutions, such as that will help accommodate other than price.
Great, thanks for that. And Michael, one more for you. So this is it's easy to talk about risk in retrospect after a project is done or in isolation. In reality, managing risk sits on a costly spectrum. How much do you typically invest in insurances or other risk products to protect your projects?
Yeah, so look, I guess we probably invest more time in than specific products. But yeah, look, I mean, we put a significant monetary value on knowing upfront risk, both for our clients and also for ourselves as a business. And that's probably why, we've partnered with Anility. We truly believe in the product. And we believe that it's actually of benefit to all, whether it's, at the subcontractor level, or it's at principal contractor or client side level, client level. And yeah, look, I guess on the topic of other products, I mean, from our point of view, we probably don't see like a one size fits all approach. There doesn't seem to be a silver bullet out there. I think there's all businesses need to look at, how they operate as an organisation, and try and find products out there that are going to kind of gel with the way they do business. The main thing is businesses, kind of being open to change, holding a mirror up to yourselves, on a consistent basis, and undertaking some critical self-analysis. That's hugely important. And ultimately, if you have that ethos, I think that as a business, you're always going to get better, and ultimately you're going to deliver more optimal outcomes.
Great. And I think we're getting close to the wrap up, folks. Michael, thank you very much for sharing your insights and experience. It's been really helpful. One last question for you. What's next for Valen?
So look, I guess what's next for Valen? Probably continuing to work closely with Anility. It's been a great partnership already, and we're keen to explore it further. We're at the moment, I guess, kind of looking at ways that we can provide reporting both upstream and downstream. So I guess kind of watch this space. As I said before, we're like any other business, we're always looking, for further innovations in the industry, looking for ways that we can do things better. Ultimately looking for ways that we can manage our risk more effectively for ourselves and our clients.
Fantastic. And Patrick, thanks so much for joining us as well. It's great to get your perspective from a technology perspective. So same question for you. What's next for Anility?
Yeah, I think for us, we're at the stage now where we're looking to partner with innovative firms, such as Valen. Valen's been great, to be honest, because we've had an opportunity for a company that is new to the industry, that is innovative, that's young, that's hungry. And traditionally, when you go out and speak to big, enterprises and these organisations, they move very slowly. Whilst they might like your product, it has to go through 15 different approval processes, and for us now it's really just partnering with hungry companies that like innovation and helping us build out additional functionality that really serves a purpose in the market. And whether that's directly with builders, whether it's with client sides, or whether it's subcontractors, we're looking to improve the product day in, day out, and work closely with our customers. So it's going to be a good year ahead.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for watching, and thank you both for taking the time to participate in today's webinar. It's been really enlightening to learn about your approach to risk and the upcoming trends across the sector. If you'd like to learn more about Valen, go to valen.com.au, or if you'd like to learn about Anility, go to anility.io. Have a great day.